Yeah. Yay. So it'll
Hello.
take a minute. It'll take a minute for Substack to catch up, but we'll get there. Let me bring up the chat. By the way, everybody loved the couch outfit that I posted of Erica Kirk, her couch suit.
Oh yeah.
That was something.
And so I posted it, and that immediately got a lot of it. That got a lot of attention. That got a lot of attention. Okay, here we go. So we have the live up, and we already have 9 people too. Yay! Okay, cool. All right, so closets. We're going to talk about closet behavior today, and code switching and so forth. So the introductory to this is that there are behaviors that we as people in the queer spectrum go through when before the egg cracks. When you're a trans person, the egg cracking is realizing that you're trans, versus someone who's gay or bi or pan or whatever, and that's just the realization that you're gay. There are behaviors that you engage in that are iterative of your closeted self versus your out self. And what happens is when you come out of the closet, there are still closet behaviors that you may do that you aren't even conscious of, depending on how long you've been doing them. For someone that spent a long period of time in the closet, you're more likely to engage in code switching and masking and hypervigilance and minimization reflexes to deal with presenting yourself in the way that you present versus living as your authentic self, and it happens to all of us. So I mean, I'm immediately going to go right into it. So the phantom distance is the first subject, and we're going to go around the table. And so here's how that works out. After coming out, many queer people automatically create physical space between themselves and their attractions. Be that, in Brandon's case, Brandon being attracted to a guy. In Sarah's case, being attracted to another woman. In Onyx and I's case, being attracted to a person who wants to have a relationship with a trans person.
Thank you.
You're in a grocery store with someone that you love and care about, and your hand drops away from theirs. That's the physical space directive. The way you angle your body. I do this all the time. The way you angle your body in a restaurant. My immediate inclination when I go into a restaurant is Aubrey and I sit across from each other eye to eye. And very oftentimes I will cross my legs and slightly turn. It's just, that's a trained response for me. Because when you're in the closet, it teaches you that, teaches you and your body that visibility could be dangerous. And your nervous system hasn't forgotten that lesson. And so that's how physical characteristics play out. So We're going to go counterclockwise. So, Brandon, your thoughts about that subject?
It's a little bit hard to distinguish because, like, I've always had kind of a bit of an aversion to public displays of affection. My family growing up, they were not physically affectionate. We didn't hug and kiss each other and that kind of thing. So I was kind of used to that kind of interaction anyway.
Right.
So it's kind of hard. I don't know. I mean, it didn't really change much for me when I came out because I was already kind of averse to those kind of displays of affection. But there have been times where, like, if I'm at a gym or somewhere where there's a guy, I try not to get too close to him or not to have lingering looks or that kind of thing. I don't want him to see me checking him out, that kind of thing. I guess that would kind of fall into that category, right? But yeah, depending on, like, when I was with my boyfriend and we were going through a Walmart one time and he held my hand and I was a little bit, I was surprised he did it at first because he was not out. But we were in a place where it wasn't either of our hometowns, not where we grew up, and I didn't know anybody around there, so I wasn't as conscientious of that, but I still felt a little bit odd because it's the first time I had shown any kind of public display of affection with another guy. So I don't know. It was a little jarring at first, but I'm glad that he did it, and it showed me that he wasn't ashamed, to show that he was with me, that kind of thing. But yeah, I feel like it was kind of a bigger deal for him than it was for me. But yeah, it's kind of hard growing up the way I did. That kind of behavior didn't really change much because of the lack of physical affection I had growing up.
That tracks. All right. It's Sarah's turn now.
I wish I had a baton I could, like, reach over and
I don't know.
Well, here's the thing, Sarah. Your perspective is important in this case because you've newly come out.
Mm-hmm.
So, the likelihood of those behaviors becomes, in certain cases, more likely than the rest of us that have been out of the egg for a period of time. But I mean, the question remains. I mean, do you see things that you do that are a physical representation of, yeah.
I can tell you the first time that I noticed that my voice was changing around certain people.
Okay.
I don't think I had come out to Joe yet, but we were struggling. And I noticed my voice go up, like it softened but got quieter, and it drove me crazy when I noticed it. Like it made me angry. And at this point, I kind of just try to minimize any shifts in it overall, because I don't know, just doing that really kind of set me off, realizing that I was doing it. But beyond that, I'm not sure that I've noticed a whole lot.
Well, let me ask you a question. Why did it set you off?
It was part of the realization that I was giving him all the space, but not allowing myself to take up any. Just doing so much for him and not expecting any kind of reciprocation in return. Like, just I don't know that I have any better way to explain it than that. Like, I've realized that I've had to, like, emotionally regulate for him, but that was a realization that came later.
Onyx.
Yeah. So, like Brandon, my family was not overly touchy feely. I had to work that out for myself. When I was in the closet, I tried to come out 3 separate times. 2 times it didn't work. The 3rd time it stuck. But part of the problem was that me as at that point 6'1" black person who is transitioning and who has a deep voice, automatically people would sir me, and it still happens. People sir me. It's the amount of, like, having to ignore people that I do, so that I don't feel hurt by their stares, by their open mouth stares. I feel that, yeah. I feel that I've had to do a lot of what we would call masking, a lot of coming in and out of the closet, learning to be able to express myself freely. And one of the other things is that I was married when I came out. So my wife saw, she knew me as my dead name. And, she allowed me the space to kind of work that out. Although we were talking about divorce for 3 years, in the instance of our relationship, I went through a transition and Egg went through her own transition. And if that hadn't happened, we wouldn't have been able to stay together. And I believe my transition.
Yeah, that's a very common motif in cross-lateralizing relationships. Our other band member, Miranda, who is not here, she went through that. Although, in her case, she was married and she came out as trans, and her wife says, "We're married. That's I will change my view.
Wow, that's great.
I will change my view to accommodate this change. But in another case, I have a very dear friend, Robin, who Robin came out as trans, and then her spouse, who was a person named Knox, a month after Robin came out as a trans woman, Knox came out as a trans guy in an
Nice.
attempt, in an attempt to, because they wanted to stay together. Um, that sort of falls outside of the scope of this conversation, but it's what you were describing is very common.
Oh, the transition that both parties have to go through. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a normal part of that behavior. So the next thing that we do is we're going to talk about code switching. So what does code switching mean? So when the plumber comes to your house and you're alone and your voice shifts, registers, and octaves and directions, your posture straightens, your gestures tighten, you deliberately and vaguely reference your pronouns. You may not even use them at all. That's not a performance you choose. It just happens as a byproduct of interacting with someone that you may or may not trust.
It's
Or-
present.
Yeah. Right. And so years of code switching will cause you to behave that way. I do it
No.
because I was in the closet for so long that I just couldn't reconcile it. And so it's exhausting, that translation in your brain, because you're going back and forth. On the one side, you're out and you're proud, but you're still translating yourself for straight comfort.
Right.
So, Brandon.
This one happens a lot for me.
Okay.
Because my family is very conservative. They don't they believe homosexuality is wrong and kind of reject that side of me, basically. And so whenever I'm around a lot of them, I tone down the gay. Don't use my hands as much, and I guess probably I guess I don't really notice the pitch of my voice. It probably does go down, lowers. I guess I just don't really think about it. But like you were saying, it's kind of automatic that it just happens. And also the area, not just with my family, but the area that I'm in, depending on where I go. This is a rural, small kind of town community. And depending where I'm at, I may not. I mean, I don't wear. I sometimes wear makeup a little bit. Not. I don't put a lot on, but I wear a little eyeliner, mascara, foundation and stuff. And depending on where I go, I may or may not wear that. Like if I'm going to Walmart in my hometown, I'm likely to see somebody I know. So I may not wear it then, because they might notice that I'm wearing makeup and say something. Like, the other day I saw my aunt in Walmart, and I was actually wearing I think I was wearing mascara or eyeliner or something, and when I saw her, I mean, I put on my glasses to kind of at least hide it a little bit. You know, I don't need my glasses all the time. It's mostly for reading, but I put them on and then looked at my phone or something. You know, it was ridiculous, but I still did it automatically. You know, it's like I don't want to deal with because she's very judgmental and very she's a Pentecostal and very conservative, and even more so than a lot of other of my family and stuff. So yeah, it was just some of that stuff is automatic, and I tried not to talk to her too much. I pretended I was kind of acted like I was busy and needed to get done with what I'm doing and get out of there. I didn't want to linger too long and talk to her. And yeah, I mean, it goes for not just makeup, but the clothes I wear. I mean, I don't wear anything that's like that kind of says I'm gay. Look at me, I don't cover myself in rainbows and have a big sign around my neck or anything like that. But I might choose different things depending on where I'm going and things like that. You know what I mean?
Right.
But yeah, a lot of it is kind of automatic and I don't notice it. And then a lot of other things is very conscious.
Yes. Yes.
Sarah?
And yeah. Oh, here. You get my baton.
I don't know. I guess
I'm waiting for you to tell me, no, you don't do this, so that I can say bullshit. Because I know better. And that's going to cause me to tell a story about you.
so. I want to say that like the biggest difference in my approach is the fact that the only thing that I consciously can think of that was a threat to me accepting myself was my father. And with him dying, I yeah, I after that it's just been like, all right, I'm coming out to people over and over again, and, like I was warned. But I'm not nervous about whether it's going to be accepted or not. It's like, all right, well, either you're going to accept it or you're not. Like, the people in my house are accepting enough. I'm not under any kind of threat.
So let me just stop you right there. So for what you are describing, the focal point for that was your paternal relationship.
Yeah.
Why?
Because he tried to shame me out of everything that he didn't like about me.
That certainly encourages masking and code switching from a social perspective, much less. I mean, okay, let me ask you the question. If you had to come out as a gay woman while your father was alive, what do you think would have happened?
Considering all the slurs that he called me when I was a teenager, it probably wouldn't have been good.
Right. So did you find yourself masking and code switching for behaviors, even socially, around this person?
Oh, yeah. I knew that I was behaving as a completely different person at home than I was socially back in middle school.
Right.
But that was like, it was like how I behaved with my friends, whether it be the type of terminology I used or the way that I behaved. It was more in terms of like I was using language that my parents would not have approved of. So that's when I first noticed that kind of thing.
Right.
Do you ever? I'm curious if you like ever encounter anyone that reminds you of your dad, or like within your family, if there's like an uncle or grandparent or anybody that's like that you might revert to those behaviors because that person reminds you of your dad or anything.
So
That's
I
an
know
That's an excellent question.
my dad didn't have any siblings. I came out to his cousin because she's like an aunt to me. She's like the closest thing to an aunt I have on that side. And she was 100% accepting. I knew she would be, though, because her nephew was gay. And so it seemed like a safe place to start with the family.
Right.
But on my mom's side, I know that like her siblings would not be at all accepting. And honestly, if I ever see them again, I'm probably just going to lean into it real hard to piss them off, so they'll never contact me again.
All right. Onyx.
Yeah, masking. Masking. What's the other part? Code switching. Yeah. All that's something that I do a lot. In terms of my family, they have not seen the real me. Like they've seen me, but I so heavily mask because I cannot be myself around them. The way I talk, the way I cuss, because I cuss a lot. My dad's a reverend. The rest of my family is very religious. No cussing, no just like lewd behavior. So all the stuff that I'm used to doing, around them I can't do, around my family I can't do. So there's a lot of code switching there. When I'm talking to my dad, my voice gets deeper. One thing I've noticed is that my dad has never called me by my legal first name until his 80th birthday, which was in September. So that's been 12, 13, 14 years now that he has never said my legal name. So, in terms of code switching in front of the family, yeah, they kind of made me do it. I don't know if it's right to say they made me do it. But I don't feel like I would have been accepted if I had shown them who I really was. Now, when I came out, it was even worse. Them being so religious, it's always, what is it? Hate the sin, love the sinner. I think you brought that up. Yeah, that's their whole stance on me coming out. When I'm out in public, though, I'm always wearing a dress for the most part. So when I come across a certain group of people, will determine how I act. Around a bunch of Black people, my voice will lower. I'll talk with some more slang. Around a bunch of like white girls, my voice gets a little bit higher, more lilty. Guys, it's just like a lower voice. So yeah, a lot of code switching, a lot of intersectionality in my life, because Egg is white. And so we've had to navigate those barriers for 20 years now. So we both know a little bit about having to kind of code switch. Yeah.
That's excellent because that leads right into the next topic of the narrative, and it's hypervigilance, but I rather humorously call that Jason Bourneism. And the reason I call it Jason Bourneism is this. So in the Bourne film, Matt Damon looks at Franca's character or whatever, and he says, I don't know why I can tell you, but we're sitting in this diner, and I know where the quickest exit is.
Yes.
I know where all the doors are. I can look at the girl behind the counter, and I can tell you that she, you know, walks around in heels for 9 hours a day, doesn't give a shit. And the cook behind the counter, I can tell you that he knows how to handle himself, and he's probably not a guy I want to pick a fight with.
No.
And so hypervigilance is that mentality. It's the scanning mentality. As a trans woman, when I go into a public space, I look for the exit.
Always.
Where's the fastest exit?
Always.
I plan out if I have to leave what's going to become a tense situation. Where's the quickest way to get out of the situation? I immediately codify everybody in my head that's in that public space.
Wow.
So that person's probably progressive. That person's probably, my gaydar goes off on that person. My gaydar says that person's okay. And so that codification, it's all threat assessment. And being 5 years as a trans woman, I still do it. Aubrey and I go to a very inclusive Italian restaurant for dinner, and I'll do it in there.
No.
And sort of jokingly, but seriously, if I see a very clearly queer-coded couple or person walk in, I'll look at Aubrey and go, team member, and she'll look at me. Yeah, definitely. But
doesn't it put at ease though? You know, once you see a queer couple, you're like, yeah. This.
Yeah. Okay, now I can let it off. But the closet instills that mental surveillance camera in your head, and coming out doesn't disable it. Not for me. Brandon, your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I mean, studying psychology, I'm kind of a people watcher. I kind of like to kind of analyze different people anyway, but I do like going into a place like certain public places, bars, things like that. Yeah, I definitely quickly scan everybody in there, and you have to, I mean, I know it's, there's the old saying, those who assume make an ass out of you and me, but sometimes you kind of have to assume things. You kind of have to, you might have to judge people by their looks, by their how they kind of carry themselves or act. That's just kind of a protection. You may be wrong. There are times that I've been wrong about somebody just because of a snap judgment by the way they kind of act or whatever, or appear, the way they dress or whatever. But
Right.
it's better to err on the side of caution. When I go into a place and see someone who I might label as a country hick or something like that, I probably would avoid them. I'd stay on the other side of the room and try to mingle with other people. So yeah, it's kind of like kind of the same thing as you were talking about, just assessing the vibe of the room and individuals, and yeah, making some assumptions basically, just in case.
Just in cases.
Sarah, I don't think maybe you've experienced this yet, but what do you think about it? Or do you think you would do it?
I mean, I've experienced in some aspect. I would say that, like, assessing any situation that I walk into has kind of led me into becoming kind of gender fluid. And I can tell you that the first time I noticed that was when I tried to fly with my sister to Florida. Like, we never made it into the air because there was a snowstorm, but because she was in such a fragile state and we were in some place with so many people, and while I might not have felt threatened, she felt like she was under threat. So I kind of just took the lead on the entire outing. We'll just call it a trip to the airport, because that's literally all it was. But what do you mean by, like, what do I think about it? Like,
I mean, you understand why those of us that do it, why we do it.
yeah.
And if you were put into that situation, if you were triggered in such a way, the question would then be, would you find yourself doing it? And I think the answer to that question is yes.
Probably. I mean, in some ways, deciding who I can safely come out to. That's going to be a level of threat assessment. Like, I was in a situation today where I was talking to one of my coworkers about the fact that I was getting divorced, and I had to make a split-second decision as to whether I was going to have that conversation, which I didn't.
Well, that's a choice you make,
Right.
based on an opinion of the situation. Onyx?
Yeah, the one thing I think of is that every time I go to a restaurant, the first thing I do is look for the exits. The second thing I do is when we sit down, I take the seat closest to the windows or the back walls or something like that, so I can see what's going on in front of me. I feel like in this day and age with so much transphobia, you can't be too careful. So yeah, I'm always pretty hyper vigilant. Now, there comes a point where in the beginning of getting to a new establishment, I'm hyper vigilant, but then Egg takes over and she's scanning everything. And I kind of let my eyes wander and I let my mind wander and I try and get it away from this hypervigilant mode, this fight or flight mode that often comes up. I want to clear that, and Egg allows me to do that. She takes over, so I've got a little backup plan.
So the next 2 points in the narrative are related to each other. And Brandon, I think you're going to love to talk about this, but this is something I have a huge fucking problem with. So I'm going to vulnerabilize myself by saying this. So there's a trust concept called validation rejection syndrome. And coupled with straight people trust issues. And so when somebody compliments on your queerness or your transness, how you look, how you're dressed, oftentimes as a closeted person, you would deflect or you would minimize, or you would just flat out tell the person, I'm not gay and I'm not queer. I don't know why you would think that. But they think it anyway. But after you come out, you minimize or you deflect or you shy away. This happened to me yesterday. I was on the train and I was wearing a green, sleeveless top, and my tattoo was showing. And on a train full of people, this woman who was like in her 60s or whatever said, "Ma'am, I want to tell you, I really love your tattoo." And my knee jerk reaction was to say that it's not necessary to tell me that, or reject that validation.
Mhm.
And it's out of fear of straight, because the first thought through my head, okay, this woman is in her 60s, her sister sitting next to her, she's very clearly straight. I don't know that I can trust that validation.
Right.
And so, there's a performative nature about that, but accepting positive recognition of my identity, it feels dangerous, because then when I understood that she probably meant what she said, I literally was looking around the train, who's going to say something
Right.
when I validate that, and that scares me. Um, you know, um, praise for my transness or my queerness lands like criticism, because my defense mechanisms can't distinguish between visibility and vulnerability. And vulnerability in the wrong situation can become detrimental.
Yes. Yes.
Brandon?
Before I came out, my best friend at the time, I mean, she knew I was gay, but I had not told her that I was. She could tell. I mean, she knew, and she was trying to get me to tell her. She was like, I know there's something.
Yeah.
I know there's something you want to talk about, or that's bothering you, or whatever. I don't remember how she put it, but and I I didn't want to tell her, but and she was like, I can help you, and I was like, I don't think you can. and but I eventually did come out to her, and of course she already knew, which helped, because that made it a lot easier. Another person, I was visiting a relative of mine in another state, and I don't see her very often, but went to visit, and we were talking. I don't remember what the subject was. We were talking about what the conversation was about. I think she might have mentioned. No, I don't know. I can't remember. But she said, "Are you gay?" And it just came kind of out of the blue. And she knew I was. She was fine with it. She was like, she could. She knew, but I wasn't out or anything. And I was like, I was kind of like a deer in the headlights. I was like, I can't believe she just asked me that, just point blank asked me, you know. And my immediate answer was, I'm I told her I was bi-curious, because I thought maybe that's not quite as bad as being gay, It's like, maybe I can just make it like I can admit to a little bit. Obviously, she knows something, but I don't have to completely admit that I'm gay. I could just, I'm not sure I trust her all the way to say, yeah, I'm gay. But I thought, bi-curious doesn't sound so bad. So, and she had a cousin on the other side of her family that was gay, and they got along very well. And she lived in Seattle, and of course, very progressive city, liberal, and So yeah, it was it was really kind of funny. I think she's actually the first person that I admitted that to, and the only reason I did was because she just point blank asked me, and I'm kind of glad she did. It was kind of a step, a small step at least, to kind of break that barrier a little bit, admitting at least partly that I was gay in a way. So, yeah, I mean, and I was in a fender bender one time, and we it was the guy's fault. He was very apologetic and admitted it was his fault and everything. And we pulled it off into a parking lot, and the cop showed up, and she was assessing everything. And as we were standing there, I think he was kind of maybe kind of nervous, and he was just making conversation and talking about wife and kids and stuff. He's like, "Are you married and got kids, or got kids or whatever?" And I I immediately said, I just said no, and later I thought, I could have said, "Oh no, I'm gay. Actually, I don't have a wife. I'm gay or whatever." But I didn't go that far. I didn't want to give him that much information. It's like, because I did kind of feel like, I don't know if I can completely trust that he'll be okay with that.
Risk
You
assessment.
know? Yeah, right. That's kind of going back to what you were saying just a minute ago. And it's like, I don't know this guy. He seems like a nice guy. He took responsibility for this accident or whatever. And I don't know if it really went through my mind at the time, but later I thought, well, what if I would have said that I was gay, and he was very much against that and decided to retract his story and say, no, it wasn't my fault. He was, whatever. But yeah, it was kind of a risk assessment. And he was in the military. That was another thing. I'm like,
Mhm.
we were in a rural area, military, manly guy, just, it was just a split decision in my head. It's like, nope, we're not going there with him.
Yeah.
No, definitely.
Sarah?
I don't know. It's I keep thinking about how every person that I've come out to, how it's been received has been based on, or how they've reacted has been based on whether or not they're straight or they're gay. Because
Yeah.
all of my gay friends already knew. And
Yeah, I want
all of-
to point out that I think that there is a conversation that I know you had with another queer person where you literally asked the queer person, how do you know?
Are you talking about my work bestie?
No, I'm talking about me.
Oh, I was gonna say, because my work bestie told me, well, first off, it's your gay ass sandals.
Oh.
But yeah, like, so every queer person that I know is all like, yeah, we had an idea. And I mean, even my kid was like, yeah, I kind of thought. But anybody else, like every straight person I know is like, really? I had no idea. But I think I don't know. It's I don't know if it's how I feel about the reaction of like, yeah, we knew. Then again, I'm just as guilty of it with my kid because when they came out, I had to tell the story about how when they were in kindergarten, there was some conversation that was had with them and their kids, their friends, and at that moment, I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Onyx.
Yeah. So validation rejection syndrome. The first thing I want to say is I was outed for the third and final time. In family therapy in rehab. The family therapist just came up and said to me and Egg, let's talk about you being trans. And, Egg's mouth hit the ground. My mouth hit the ground. So that's kind of how like it all congealed and my egg finally broke for good. The one thing I have the one thing I had a problem with early on, and sometimes I still do, is people say, "Oh, you're so brave for transitioning," and I'm like, "Well, fuck this. I'm not being brave. I'm just trying to stay alive." For me, it was a transition or die type of situation. There was no other way. I gave myself till 42 to start transitioning. And if I didn't, then that would have been over. And at 42, I started transitioning. So I get the, like, when people try and validate my transness, some part of me feels like, they're doing it just to be kind, and not really doing it out of honesty. Like, when they say, you look really great, that dress looks really good on you. I don't know how to take it. I don't know if they're being honest or if, they're just saying that just to say it because they see this guy, and there are two ways to react. Either you react with disgust or you come at it from a much more kind position. So yeah, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
So, as we're approaching the end of the hour, there's ways to cope with these situations. So, feel free to stop me and comment as I say this. But, with the physical space limitation issue, I tell people, touch practice. Encourage your partner to touch you.
Right.
In public. And that doesn't have to be like, I will tell you this, when Aubrey, like, walks up behind me and slides her hand across the back of my neck and onto my shoulder, that is an incredibly affirming feeling.
Right.
And I would never push that away because I want that affection. Largely because, from my perspective, I grew up as a touch-starved person. I had a maternal unit. Yeah, I had a maternal unit that did not believe in having contact with her child. And then when I find myself code switching, I then correct myself. If I think I'm going to code switch, I make a habit to say to somebody. I did it at work yesterday. I was talking to somebody, and they said, do you know about this person they're going to interview for the security role? Oh, yes. That's my spouse. she and I are very tight. And I remember that, I told her about it, and then she said to me, "Well, Wendy, thank you. I think you're an amazing woman." That was a self-admission against my own feelings. Grounding techniques, that's the thing that stops you from threat.
Right.
Threat detection, just ground. I mean, I walk into a space and you name 5 things that you can see, 4 things you can touch, 3
Yep.
things you can hear. Yeah. And that pulls you out of that threat hunting, threat analysis role. And when you catch yourself minimizing, deliberately amplify instead. Someone asks about your weekend, don't say, "Oh, I hung out with friends." Don't say that. I went on a date with my partner, my life partner, and it was an amazing experience.
Yeah, like I wouldn't ask if I really didn't want to know. I'm not going to just bullshit you, you know? I want to know.
Right.
No.
Right. And then the authenticity calibration. Give yourself permission to exist.
Right.
Where you live. If you want to be aggressively visible or respectably palatable without judgment, you should give yourself permission to do that. There's no crime in you feeling that way or portraying that way or expressing that way.
And there's no queer. So,
No. Some days you do it, some days you don't. But neither is more authentic. The goal is choice. You're
Right.
not performing for people. The goal is the choice that you make to be yourself in whatever capacity. And then the last thing that I want to iterate, and I didn't really go into this, is the body keeps score. There's a book out there called The Body Remembers, because it does. Every abuse, every mental abuse, every physical abuse, every whatever kind of abuse or negative situation, the body remembers. And so you need to heal from that as much as your body does, just as much as your brain does. And so somatics are how you do that. Progressive muscle relaxation, tensing and releasing, lay down, tense your toes, tense your hands, and then go up your body to, but those are all things that are designed to help you deal with coming out and not behaving in a way that you did before you came out. So, Brandon, final thoughts?
Yeah, some of it is, I think, just takes some time to live with yourself before you kind of can show other people. Obviously accepting yourself fully. I think kind of some of it's kind of fake it till you make it.
There we go. Yeah.
Practice being yourself around people you know that you're safe around.
Right.
And the more you do that, the more you can expand that circle. You know what I mean?
Right. Sarah? This is why I call her Sarah the Stoic. in the queer space stories every night.
There's a lot of thoughts actually, but I don't know which one to pick. Um, I am gonna go check out that book. I can tell you that.
I can send you my copy if you want.
Me and Kate like to go to the bookstore, so it'll give us an excuse.
Should never be an excuse to go to the bookstore.
Right. Never.
Onyx?
Code switching. I think to a certain extent, everybody does this.
That's one thing I was thinking earlier, and I forgot to mention. But yeah, I think everybody does in different situations, whether they're in the queer community or not.
Right.
Code switching is a protective behavior.
It is. And I think, like Brandon said, is once you start accepting yourself and then accepting yourself within the parameters of your friend group, and then that expands to being more comfortable out in public, so that by the time you've been out for a while, you feel more comfortable. You don't have necessarily the same fight or flight that you had in the beginning. That doesn't mean to say it's gone away, because it just depends on the place you're in. I could be in bumfuck Georgia, and I would not feel safe. It just depends on where you are, on how you code switch, how you feel about people validating your identity or your beliefs.
I hate to use this as a reference, but one of my favorite comedy films of all time, easily in the top 10, has a number of iterative exemplifications of this, and it's not even in a queer space. And it's an Eddie Griffith movie, and if I tell you, you have to promise not to judge me for liking it. Undercover Brother. I love this movie.
I love that movie.
But the moment of code switching that happens in that movie is when Griffith's character gets assailed by a white girl.
Right.
So they're all down in the base, and he walks in, and he's in khakis and a 2-button. Hey, Chief Sturt, and it's like, oh my god. The sister girl looks at him. What the hell happened to you? And the boss is like, what the hell happened to you? And sister girl says, he's been having sex with a white girl. But that, the instance of that film, that's like classic code switching.
It is 100%. Yeah.
And so, I hate to use that movie as an examination of a social construct, but I mean it's the very same thing. There's actually a couple of
what it was made as. So yeah.
Yeah, there's a couple of gay and queer films that do it. You almost see it in the Bros movie. I love that movie too. That's the movie that tries to convince you that Abraham Lincoln was bi.
Oh yes.
Bros and Bottoms are my two. Those are my two favorites.
Oh my god! When Bottoms was on Amazon, I watched it every fucking day, sometimes twice a day. I love that movie. Love.
Yeah, whether you're gay, straight, queer, whatever, watching Bros and watching Bottoms, those are two movies that even straight people should watch. which is funny. Which is funny because one of the actresses, one of the two trans actresses in the Bros movie, Madison, is somebody that I know in real life. Her stage name is interesting, and I won't say it, but yeah. So yeah, that's all I had for the day. Who's going to do it next? Well, Miranda promises to appear on Monday, so I'm going to put it on Miranda to.
That's what I was going to say. Well, I guess it's on her
yeah.
then.
Miranda's going to get it for the topic. Get it for the topic. I guess to the chat in the final 3 minutes. Does anybody have any questions? Please feel free to ask.
God, I can't even see the chat.
I'm peeking down.
You had one job to do.
Well, if I have any other windows up, my connection goes to shit. So.
Oh. Semantics.
I got the cheapest Xfinity that there is.
The problem is you have Xfinity.
Oh yeah, okay. Well,
it's the only one I could get for $15 a month.
Oh, that's a good price. I actually worked for Xfinity. Yeah, I lasted 6 months.
Ouch.
Um,
My friend Samantha, I believe, works for Xfinity. She's been there a long time.
I was doing outbound calling, trying to get people to sign up or save people, and that is just not my jam. It was something that I have no belief in. Like I can sell the hell out of some magical supplies, but I can't sell Comcast stuff to save my life.
No, yeah, I can't either. All right, well, Monday at 1 or 2 o'clock.
Sounds good.
Yep.
Okay. Sarah, are you going to come back on the trauma show ever again?
Considering I have to take a half day off of work in order to make it, it'll have to be scheduled.
Well, I know for a fact that you'll be here physically on the 15th of December, and that's a Monday, which means that's a Monday, which means
that one.
I can shove you in a room and you can I can shove you in the pussy room.
There we go.
You know, where the pussy lives.
He lives all over the place.
Well,
Yeah,
Tuesday is
don't
Veterans
listen
Day.
to the voice behind my monitor. The voice behind my monitor doesn't know what the fuck she's talking.
Cheesy food.
No, see, I told you, don't listen to it. Don't. You be quiet. You're ruining my show. You're ruining our show. Quit it.
Want some hot dogs?
God damn it.
We got a pack full of wieners. You got buns?
Yeah, okay. Brandon, Sarah, Onyx, thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you. Yeah.
I will post a public link to the three of you of the video once it publishes or whatever, so that you can drop it. Just for clarification, Brandon, that's working okay for you?
Yeah, I don't know why. At first, I just could not get it to download, but then there was an update that my computer had to do, and once it did that, it downloaded fine. So I guess it's fine.
Okay, perfect. So I just look for a public link from me in the next 3 or 4 hours, and that'll be this video, and you can share it and spread it around and do whatever you want with it.
Awesome.
All right. Well, thank you everybody that joined us for Trauma
Thank
Live
you.
Friday. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.
Have a pleasant weekend.
Bye.
Aviento.
Nope.
Wiener.
Don't listen to this shit. Don't listen to this shit. It's
Wiener.
don't listen to it.
I hear wiener.